Good evening. Hi, I'm Emery, Christie. Thanks for joining me again tonight on Messages, Magic, and Musings on A1R Psychic Radio. I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about tapping into your intuition, tapping into your psychic senses, what that might look like, feel like, different things that you can do to access that. So I'm a firm believer that we all have gifts. We all have some aspect of psychic senses, whether we know they're there or not. And, you know, some people, it's like doors blown wide open, even when they're not looking to have experience with those gifts. Whereas other people really seem to have to work hard to grow, to develop, to uncover. But again, doesn't mean that they're not there and accessible, and things can be kind of hidden for different reasons. When it comes to others, you know, other people still will go through their entire existence in this lifetime not recognizing that they have gifts and abilities. And, you know, again, everyone has psychic abilities and gifts and intuition. However, not everybody will have a huge purpose in growing and discovering and using those things. So for some people, it will be very minuscule and others very large, but you can feel like your experience, your capacity for psychic senses is about this much, when really it can be very large. It's just sometimes learning how to open up, how to tap into things when it doesn't seem to be just readily available. So, like so many people, I was absolutely somebody that had a lot of experiences, but didn't necessarily, you know, put the pieces together. And that's a lot of the time for people because, you know, we think that psychic gifts are for other people. We don't recognize maybe the way that things come for us because it's not the way we thought it would be. We often connect psychic seeing spirits with our eyes wide open as being psychic, or hearing voices. And both of those are, of course, part of mediumship, perhaps, but also the psychic sense of clairvoyance and clairaudience. We might overlook things like smells we can't explain, glimpses out of the corner of our eye, even sensations in our body. And so again, it's very easy to experience messages from the other side and also not know that we are doing just that. So with accessing messages, anything that we receive is a message, whether it's for us or whether it's for someone else. And when it comes down to accessing messages, a lot of people will say, I know I can receive, I have the ability to receive, but I don't know how to receive when I want. How do I tap into that when I choose? How do I access those messages at a time of my choosing or on a topic of my choosing? And it's absolutely true. We can explore our psychic senses, tap into them in so many different ways. We may use meditation. We may use all sorts of things to open up our chakras. We might, have a lot of growth through energy healing, attunements through Reiki, so many different things. But at the end of the day, we can also directly connect to spirit. A lot of the time we talk and we speak and we ask for messages and signs, but it doesn't always mean that we're open to receiving. It doesn't mean that we are open to receiving in the ways that spirit chooses to speak to us. And so right now, I'm just going to guide you through a little something. And I want you to follow along with me if you're doing this with me in real time, or if you're listening to the recording after. I want you to just follow along. I want you to think about a loved one on the other side. And I want you to say their name in your head. And so our express connection is this, or our express intention, pardon me, is this. We ask God, Divine Source Energy, to connect us and our own team of spirits to the energy of that loved one and that loved one's team of spirits, so that you may receive information that is truthful, accurate, safe for you to receive, and for your highest and best good. And now, while we're sitting in that energy with the intent of being in that person's energy, I want you to speak to them. But this time when you speak to them, whether it's out loud or silently in your head, I want you to say one phrase. And after the phrase, I want you to sit with it. And I want you to just acknowledge what comes up. Responses happen in a million different ways. It's not always words. It's not always a literal answer to your question. Sometimes it's a thought. Sometimes it's a memory. Sometimes it's a smell or a taste. Sometimes it's a visual image barely there. You're not even sure if you for sure saw it. We can even experience an emotion and assume it's ours. And I want you to know that when you're sitting in intention of receiving something, anything that you're receiving is now connected to that energy. Okay? Just because you're feeling it or experiencing it doesn't make it yours. It tells you how you're able to receive, but it is all about that person or that energy that you're choosing to connect to. So when you do this in the future, when you're speaking to a loved one, an animal or a person, or to your spirit guides or anything that you choose, I ask you to practice that, make a statement and sit with it. And after you've reflected on it, again, make the statement and sit with it. And we want to pay attention to all of your senses. Again, our senses, sight, smell, taste, hearing, touch, emotions. We want to pay attention to all of it, as well as your thought. So now, another thing that is important, when it comes to connecting to loved ones, is loved ones or spirits, anyone from the other side. Again, we always set the intention that it's for everyone's highest and best good and safer to receive. We've chosen who, we've chosen how, and we've chosen what. And you can trust anything that comes forward at that point in time. But when you're done, whether it's through a card reading, whether it's through channeling, however it is that you choose to connect, I want you to ensure that you disconnect the connection. So that means stating to spirit out loud that you're done the connection, you're done the conversation, and thank you. That means that you could also, disconnect in a number of ways. I often place my hand on my abdomen with the vision of almost like an umbilical cord from me to whoever I'm connecting to, and I slide my hand down with the intention that I'm disconnecting the energy, okay? And so we always want to end an energy exchange because we don't want to stay connected all of the time. Not to a living person, not to anybody, but we can also know that our loved ones are always with us. When it comes to receiving messages in other senses, it's not always about, connecting to loved ones. It's just about receiving guidance, receiving awareness. The logical mind wants to believe that we can make sense of things. And when we can't make sense of things, we question if they're true. Whether it's a knowing, whether it's a dream of something that happens in the future, whether it's a strange thought, a vision that we don't know where that popped up out of in our mind's eye or in our dream. You get that motion out of the corner of your eye, you turn your head and nothing seems to be there. We go into the assumption that in fact nothing's there. It couldn't be further from the truth. If we take the what ifs and the I'm not sure, but out of our thought process and start taking so much of what we receive for fact, that's trusting. I don't know what this means, but I trust that I had this experience. We're always closer to finding the truth of the messages that we receive. Trust is the single most difficult thing that there is to establish when doing readings, when receiving messages. It's trust. It's trusting ourselves. It's trusting the energy. Am I speaking to a reputable source? How do I know it's true? How do I know it's good guidance? How do I know it's a kind spirit? When you set your intentions, you don't have to question. But then we move into blind trust, taking things for face value, taking things for what they are. When I say face value, though, I do want to just say that that doesn't mean that everything is literal. Death is often symbolic of endings, closing of chapters, the end of something. Birth also is symbolic of newness, creation, new beginning, the opening of doors, right? New opportunity. So not everything is truly literal. But I leave you with that. And I just send the best of energy. If you're ever looking for guidance in how to grow your gifts, if you're looking for understanding of where your gifts are hidden, I let you know that I do offer readings that tap into your psychic gifts and potential. I also offer workshops. So an energy basics class, which is all about learning how to ground intuitively, clear your energy and the energy of other people and places, as well as protection and releasing receiving energy that's not yours. And then I offer a course going into intuition and mediumship development, where I teach you 12 hours worth of possibilities, opportunities to get to know your gifts and to be able to receive messages, learning more about how your tools work and gaining skills, being able to assert your abilities rather than just waiting for things to show up in your life. So I thank you for listening. Now I'm going to open up to a caller. Mary, how are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for joining me. Where are you calling from tonight?
Owasso, Michigan.
Wonderful. Well, I'm happy to have you. I am just going to take a minute. I just want to just quick prep your energy. Okay, so I'll open the floor up in a second to whatever your focus is for today, Mary. I just wanted to tell you a couple of reflections. So when I tapped into your energy, the first thing that I got is that you are very visual. You're a very visual person, and that carries over into the psychic sense of clairvoyance, okay? So when I'm taken into your eyes, I know you have an ability to see. Have you already recognized that about yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely. And I know that can happen in so many different ways, right? So that's excellent that you recognize it. The other thing, there was a lot of energy in the chest. So heart chakra, your connection to relationships, it's not always necessarily about something's wrong with your chest. It's just a focus, but it's often more of a pull to tendencies, personality, or challenges, energy that you're holding that needs to be healed. And for whatever reason, the word hardships comes up. And so I don't know if that's recent, like things have been challenging, if there's been a series of challenges or a specific difficulty, but it just feels like you're holding a lot of energy in your heart that feels like challenging energy, hurt, disappointment, that kind of thing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
Okay. There also was one more thing that I just wanted to actually note. Sorry, I said one and then another thing popped up. So I'm led a lot when I first connect by sensations, and spirit uses me like a map. And so when I feel things in different parts of my body, they tell me different messages for you because I'm only connected to you. So everything I feel is yours, even though it feels like mine. Okay. And so where your ribs meet, underneath the area above your belly button, this is your solar plexus chakra. And this is connected to the fact that you're an empath. So you're very sensitive emotionally to the energy of others. And that is an intuitive sense from the psychic sense of clairsentience. So you feel in a way that's psychic. You feel other people's emotional energy. And you likely have recognized that about yourself already, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's good. And, you know, one thing that I find a lot of people have shortcomings in is they recognize what it is to be an empath. They learn about that, but they often fall short in learning, how do I navigate this? How do I find comfort? How do I access this as a gift then, if this is a gift, without just feeling uncomfortable all the time? And so I just want you to know that if you read, if you're looking for training and things, there are things out there. I offer the energy basis class, which does help you along with learning how to govern that. But this is wrapped up not only in empathy, but also confidence. And your solar plexus usually only captures my attention when we've been having a hard time with the energy of being very sensitive. So it might signal that there's a lot of emotions coming up, that there's a lot to navigate. And then the last thing that I picked up was the hips. And when the hips come up, it's connected to your root chakra. Your root chakra, your safety, your security, your stability. Change, lack, and loss themes challenge this sense of safety and security for us. So when the hips capture my attention, it means that something's a little off with your sense of security. And that can show up in a lot of different ways if you know anything about the root chakra. But it also signals that when the hips come into play, that there's a big question about the future. It doesn't mean that you necessarily wanted to talk to me about the future, but it tells me that you're likely in a place where looking ahead to the future, there's a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns. Okay, so less the point in life where we kind of figure we have a 5-year, 10-year plan. We've got a big vision for the future. The hips often show up more when we're at a place in life where the way things were is now no longer the way they are, and therefore it changes changes the way we go forward. And it's generally not in a place where we've reevaluated. It's kind of more like plans for the future are a little bit scrapped. I'm not really sure what the heck I'm doing. Okay. And sometimes that shows up in every place in life. It's not always just one place in life. Okay. So that's just a quick scan. Now, please, Mary, if you would, go ahead and tell me what it is that you would like to explore during our time today.
You know what? Well, you were really hitting it right on with everything.
Okay.
So, but I guess my main focus is relationships that I have in my life right now. But I guess I didn't know if there was any messages from the other side that could help me with that, and or with that question mark of future and security and that sort of thing. So I guess any of those 3 points that you brought up, but anyone that would have a message for me from the other side as well.
Okay. So I'll just kind of open it up. Depending on what direction Spirit wants me to go, I may ask you a question just to kind of get me closer to the energy, okay? So let me just see where I'm pulled. Okay. Now, Mary, I don't obviously know if your father is living or passed, but I'm going to tell you that I have an energy showing up. It's an image of a person. I assume that he's passed, but if he's not, forgive me. It's not a message that there's going to be a passing or anything like that. I see a man. He's got very gray hair, but he has hair, and he's got enough hair that it's parted on the side. A very specific deep part. Hair goes this way. It's kind of a smoky gray. It might be a little bit light, but this isn't, or lighter than smoky, but it's not like a sparkly light white gray or silvery gray. And as I saw this man, I couldn't see his face. He's at a distance. I get the feeling that he's wearing almost like a sweater over a collared shirt. So this is a fairly nice dressed man. He doesn't, dress in grubby clothes, or it doesn't appear that he's wearing, like more blue collar work clothes type of gear, but he's not super dressed up. So nicely dressed. Does this sound like someone you know?
Yes. It's a little confusing because I have two fathers. One is my dad that raised me, and one is my biological father. They both had white hair, but I would have to say that my dad that raised me had a little bit of a shade of darker here and there. So it wasn't completely solid white, whereas the other father did have completely white hair.
Okay. So absolutely there was energy around father. And like I said, I just wanted to make sure that he was in fact passed, because I didn't want you to think that, if he was living, that I was forecasting anything. I wouldn't do that. So there's an energy of a man. Father is the word. Dad was actually the word that came with it. But the way that he's dressed and the distinct part in his hair is more what's telling to me. Now, what is the father that raised you? What is his first name?
Leo. Lee or Leo.
Leo?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just one moment. Oh, my dear Mary, you're needing encouragement right now. Yeah. You need encouragement to let you know that you're doing okay, that you're going to pull through, that things will be all right, and that you're okay. All right. Your father, Leo, is telling you you're doing a good job. He says, chin up. You're going to be all right. Let's see what else he offers. I want to say this. I was getting some sort of connection. Like I felt like there was maybe stress or grief around career, but yet it took me to relationship and there being like rockiness. I was seeing it literally like rocks. And so that seems to be pulling a lot of energy. So let me just go back to your father for a second. Leo gives really great advice. And I don't doubt that he gave really great advice when he was here Earthside, correct?
That's correct, yes.
He has a way of talking to you, my dear, where he can tell you his thoughts, he can tell you his feelings and opinions and what he thinks you should do, and yet it doesn't feel like you've got someone trying to control you. It just feels like it's given with love, like there's a calm to him, but a reassurance. And so know that that's how he comes forward to you now, okay?
Okay.
He says you've been in challenge for the long haul. It feels like things have been challenging, hard. That there's been a lot of struggle for quite some time now. This isn't a today thing, a this week, this month thing. It feels like things have been almost, like pulling teeth for quite some time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he, according to him, and only because he gave good advice when he was Earthside, would I really put a lot of stock in what he says now, okay? People sometimes think that just because people are past, that they know all the answers and that they give the best advice now. And some of the advice I've heard from people's loved ones, I hesitate to just offer. And so I explore it a little further, and I remind people that just because people are past doesn't mean they know everything, right? So if a person was somebody that we would have gone to for advice when they were living, there's a much better indication that they're also going to give good advice from the other side, okay? So your father, Leo, is someone that you can trust with this. What he says is, he says, hold on a little longer. It sounds like things are going to be challenging for a little while longer, but then we move into 2022 and things start picking up significantly. Okay. So whatever area of life that is, and I think it's a few different things. Okay. Specifically about money, financial security. Yeah. I see changes in 2022. So I'm right on board with your father, Leo, on that. And I'm just going to see a little bit of what I get for you around the future in that aspect. Okay.
Okay.
And I want you to know, Mary, he loves you so much. He absolutely adores you. Whether you were biologically his or not, it's all the same to him. And I want you to know that he truly, truly adores your mother. He's got such a big heart. He's got such a big heart. Oh.
Is she there?
Oh, yeah, he's there. I've been talking to him the whole time. Do you have something you want to ask him or say to him?
My recent findings over the last 2 years with my family, with my biological family.
Okay. So I don't know, without him telling me everything, and I know I won't have time to go through and just read into everything, but what I'm going to tell you is he said the words earth shattering. So it feels like there was a lot of shocking information to come up. So things went very topsy-turvy, a lot of unexpected information coming your way.
Yeah.
The connection with your biological family is not without drama.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I want you to know that your father supports you in whatever it is you choose, but he says, don't be afraid to call a spade a spade. Okay. Just remember, no matter where you came from, you know who you are and you know what you value and what you deserve. And just because we long for a connection with people, whether they're biological or not, doesn't always mean that they have to offer what it is we're looking for, right? So don't settle for things that you wouldn't settle for in other relationships. What's the worst thing that happens if you set a boundary is people won't respect it, and then you'll be faced with a choice to go your own way. All right. But there's a lot of energy around drama here. And your father, again, says, don't be afraid to call a spade a spade.
That's really good advice.
I struggle to find where the value is in some of these relationships, because when I take a moment and just feel the energy around it, It just feels like it doesn't offer calm. In what way do these connections fill your cup? You know, because the door is open, I guess it offers you information and answers questions, but that's kind of as far as it goes.
Well, there's a few that are amazing and wonderful, and one in particular.
Okay, so
I mean,
that's
that's
important
been worth it.
That's important to know. So then look at it like, is there a way to be able to set boundaries with the one in particular and still be able to maintain what you've got with the others? Right? That it's just the energy around that one toxic connection is so strong that it just feels like it steamrolls all of the rest of it.
Yeah, it has. It has, and I'm learning how to balance that and set those boundaries. So, yeah. I've been working on it.
And you know what? Again, it just comes down to honoring yourself, right? Decide what your value is, what your worth is, what your terms are. And if somebody can't play by that, then you get to decide what the relationship's going to look like or if there's even going to be one. So I'm just going to take one last little piece of guidance from Spirit or from your father for you, and then we'll be at the end of our time. So I'll just take a quick moment here.
Thanks.
You know what? In 2022, I see a new direction for you. It feels like it's related to career potentially. Okay, so just be open to opportunities, whatever it is that you already want or what you're already doing. You know, things might look different going forward. Don't be closed to new opportunities because you never know where abundance comes. But 2022 seems to have a little bit of energy around money and an increased flow as well, okay? So I want you to know before I let you go, your father says, and I quote, "I love you with all my heart, and that will never change." Okay, so I want you to know that he's with you. I get a sound of tapping with him around. So you may recognize his presence with a sense of tapping little noises, things that you can't explain that you hear in a way that's physical, okay? So it was wonderful to connect with you, Mary. Take the best care of yourself and good luck with setting boundaries. It's never easy, but nobody else will do it for us, right? So we've got to do the hard work if that's what we deserve. Take good care.